Rules of Survival. This fascinating mobile game is one of the hottest out there in the market today, and chances are is one you've heard of before. It was released a few weeks ago and has risen to the top of the App Store and the Google Play Store as one of the most popular games of late 2017. In simplicity, some people may call it a mobile version of the highly popular PC game PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but others say it's entirely different. Regardless, it's an amazing, free, mobile, battle royale style game where 120 players drop from the sky and battle in an ever-decreasing circle size until one person remains. Rules of Survival is unique in that its controls are unlike most other games out there on the market today, and its playstyle is definitely learned through experience. So I thought I could do you all a favor, and I, ExxotikGaming, could make a full tips and tricks guide on how you can get better at this game and ensure yourself a much better chance at getting the famed turkey dinner. So with all that being said, sit back, relax, leave a like if this tutorial helps, subscribe for some more Rules of Survival content, and let's get into this. We are going to break this tutorial down into several sections, each covering different aspects of the game. Basically, we are going to cover the different time periods of a standard game and all that encompass them. We first have the beginning, where you drop out of the sky, land in a certain area, and gather your resources. Next, we have mid-game, where you need to relocate to stay inside the decreasing circle and manage to stay alive in the process. And lastly, we have the end game, where you inevitably will be encountering enemies and you'll need to have the upper hand if you want to win. First, let's talk about the beginning of the game, what most players first starting out will experience most often. This involves everything from the countdown to figuring out where to drop to gather the best resources all while staying alive. Right off the bat, get some headphones, earphones, whatever. You need to be able to hear enemies in order to play this game. They don't have to be fancy, they just need to work. On to the game now. To put it bluntly, you inevitably will not do that well in your first few matches because there's certainly a learning curve to the game. But with this tutorial, hopefully that curve will be lessened. I first want to say this. Use the countdown period to your advantage. When you're first starting out, these seconds allow you to test all the buttons out and practice doing some basic things in-game, all while not worrying about dying. Many people just sit there and wait for the timer to run out. You don't have to do that. You can run around, practice punching moving players, and even pick up weapons to learn how they work. Loot spawns in during the countdown time, so practice picking stuff up fast so you can have the upper hand when the actual game starts. Next, you'll be put into the plane. It'll fly in one of the many flight paths around the island, and it's up to you to decide where you want to drop. My best advice when you're first starting out is to get the most action possible. This means you shouldn't drop into an area where very few players are, but rather go to a big area right near the flight path so you inevitably will encounter the most players. Some of the best areas are Research Edifice, Rust Bay, Bitter Lake, and Wind Cliff, but pretty much anywhere where there is a large group of buildings is a good place to go. Find out which place is closest and first on your flight path and go there. You will die more often like this, but you will also get more experience faster. It really goes hand in hand. The more action you get, where the more players you kill, the better you understand different weapons for later game. In the very, very beginning, you won't be entirely focused on winning, so don't have that mindset. Be more focused on actually learning the different weapons and getting a lot of practice, so eventually you can move closer to winning that turkey dinner that tastes oh so good. A little hint, shotguns are best at this stage in the game. If you drop into a close quarters area like Rust Bay, you're guaranteed a lot of action early on, and this will all be at close range. If you die at this point in the game, it doesn't really matter. When you're just starting out, you can't expect to win. You gained experience, and that's most important. It also forces you to become a more aggressive player, which is good in many aspects. You want to be aggressive when you are playing this game. If you never shoot anyone and you play extremely cautiously all the time, that will stab you in the back later on. Several tips involving jumping out of the plane is to locate where you want to drop before you have the option to leave. That way, the second you're allowed to enter the parachute area, you can do so. Travel as fast as you can to the ground because chances are, if you're going to a big area, there will be a fair number of other players. Next, looting is key. Aim towards a building you don't see anyone else going to and only loot the bare essentials, meaning basically get the gun and the armor. Maybe health at this right there. Like I said, shotguns are great at this point. Chances are, if you're fast, there will be people just landing as you get your gun, so you're going to have the upper advantage to them. Locate enemies by sensing their footsteps or gunshots and immediately start killing people as fast as you can. Because the longer you wait, the better chance there'll be more geared up, and that's never good. If you're lucky, you can get the upwards of 10 kills right early on in the game, and then you'll have to move on to bigger and greater things. If you killed a fair number of people in the area you dropped into, then you may be one of the last remaining people there. This now allows you to gear up and gather anything necessary for later game. However, be warned, people can always sneak up on you, so always be watching your back and always look for the footstep icon at the top of your screen. Regardless, at this point, you'll begin the transition from beginning to mid-game. At this point in the game, there will likely be around half of the starting players left, which is still a good amount. 60 is definitely a lot. Now, you have to focus less on the pure number of kills and looting up to mainly staying alive. At this point in the game, the remaining players will have good weapons, so you have to at least expect anyone you come across will have some type of scoped rifle. Ideally, for yourself, you should rid your inventory of the shotgun by this point and hold a rifle and a sniper, if you can manage to find them. Sometimes you won't be able to find a sniper, and that's okay. You can still equip a 4x and 8x scope to rifles and use them in single fire mode and get accurate long-range gameplay. You'll likely have to move around a lot to stay in the zone, so always check up with the map to ensure you're not so far outside the zone you will die. Whenever you do have to move long distances, vehicles are ideal, but do be warned the driving mechanics aren't very good. If more advanced players encounter you, they may be able to shoot you off of motorcycles, so you're much safer in a car or a truck. When moving by foot, avoid extremely open spaces and hug the trees during most of your travels. It'll help you get spotted less often. If you do get spotted and you find yourself being shot at, find cover fast. It could be a building, a tree, or a rock, but you need some sort of physical barrier from the enemy's bullets. If you're far away from the enemy, you may want to lie down in the grass so you're harder to see, creep out from behind the object, and scope the enemy. Use single fire instead of burst mode at range, and burst at full auto at closer ranges. Airdrops are also interesting talk. Fantastic weapons can spawn in from them, so if you find yourself lacking in weapons, you may want to consider going for them. Simply put, avoid airdrops in the middle of open fields unless you have a vehicle. You'll likely get sniped if you run out towards them. If you already have a rifle and a sniper with plenty of ammo, you may not even want to consider going for it. When you do get closer to the airdrop, be careful and don't immediately go for it. Chances are, someone else saw it drop, so be patient and wait for them to loot it. Then, with good cover, you can kill the person and loot without any worry of someone else sneaking up behind you. Eventually, you'll find yourself in the top 15 to 20 players, and this is where the match transitions to the endgame. This is where the best players are going to be encountered. At this point in time, hug the zone boundary. It's never good to be in the center of the circle because as it gets smaller and smaller, people will see you from all angles. It's impossible to defend all angles at this point, and you'll likely get shot in the back. You need to assume all players you encounter at this point will have as good, if not better weapons than you, so you need to have the element of surprise on your side. Do not move around too much, especially not out in the open, unless you absolutely have to, like for example if the zone is moving in or you're being shot at. You will want to have good cover at this point in the game. Higher elevation or a building is always great. Being on top of a mountain or a building will allow you to easily spot players hiding below, and hiding inside a building will allow you to cover entrances and shoot anyone who runs inside. When you get down to the top 3 or 4 players, locate where they are and target each one by one. Find who will be the biggest threat first, take him or her out, then move to the next player. However, do be warned, The second you shoot, that is when people will know where you are. If you get down to the last 2 or 3 players and you still cannot find them, you may want to lie down at the edge of the zone, hidden from view, and just wait patiently until someone moves. Then you kill the enemy. Also, some people may be very patient themselves. They might hide for many minutes on end. You may want to move around just a bit to attract some attention towards yourself, and if you are one of the last 2 players, then take that advantage by taking that last person out by force. And then you'll have the win, the big turkey dinner. It'll be well rewarding, and boy will it be good. And with that being said, that's basically it. I think I've covered just about everything you need to know from the beginning of the game when you're just starting out all the way to the end of the game. You could call this the beginner's guide to rules of survival, if you will. I hope it helped you guys out. If it did, and you notice any significant improvements with your gameplay, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a like down below. Also, I have an entire series on my channel of this game, so subscribe if you want to see more content. I'll put a how to download Rules of Survival on your computer tutorial down below in the description. Other than that, I wish you the best of luck with your Rules of Survival ventures, may you win many turkey dinners, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.